What if a Chan encounter at a forgotten diner could rewrite the course of two lives? Sounds like the start of a cliché story. Maybe, but what if it's not? What if long-buried dreams and lost friendships can ignite again, even when everything seems broken? And what if that reunion drags them into a storm bigger than either of them imagined? Sometimes, the past isn't done with you, and the future demands more than courage. It demands everything. The rain lashed the Starlight Diner, a faded beacon on Denver's outskirts, its neon sign flickering like a heartbeat in the storm. Inside, the air was heavy with the aroma of scorched coffee, sizzling bacon, and the faint tang of grease. Rachel Hughes, 29, scrubbed the counter with a frayed rag, her auburn hair escaping its messy bun, her hazel eyes dulled by the weight of another double shift, and the storm outside mirrored the chaos within her. The diner was nearly deserted. A grizzled trucker hunched over his coffee, a pair of teenagers giggling over a milkshake in a corner booth. Rachel's life was a tightrope, supporting her struggling family while clutching a fading dream of becoming a singer. Music was her refuge, but it felt like a relic from a life she could no longer claim. Rachel's childhood had been a patchwork of love and scarcity. Her father, George, a mechanic, was sidelined by a chronic back injury, his hands too unsteady to grip a wrench. Her mother, Linda, a kindergarten teacher, stretched her meager salary to feed Rachel and her younger siblings, Emma, 16, and Noah, 12. As the eldest, Rachel had become the family's pillar. Her music relegated to stolen moments, strumming a battered guitar in her cramped bedroom. Those moments were inseparable from memories of Christopher Mansfield, her childhood best friend, whose shy smile and guitar chords had once made her believe in a world beyond Denver's dusty streets. Rachel and Christopher had been two sides of the same coin, bound by music and sheer hardship. His mother, Ellen, a widow, battled lupus, and their family's financial struggles echoed Rachel's own. They'd spend hours on a hill overlooking the opulent Harrington estate, owned by James Harrington, a real estate tycoon whose shadow loomed over Denver like a vulture. Rachel and Christopher would sing together, her soulful melodies blending with his steady strums. Dreaming of escape, they'd race bikes through cracked streets, laughing and share secrets under the stars, a quiet spark of something deeper flickering between them. At 17, Ellen's worsening illness forced the Mansfields to move to Boston for better medical care. They vowed to stay close, but letters dwindled to texts, then silence. Rachel stayed in Denver, pouring coffee and burying her dreams, while whispers reached her that Christopher had become a millionaire, his company, Mansfield Ventures, a rising star in real estate. The diner's bell clanged, snapping Rachel from her reverie. A man stepped inside, rain dripping from his tailored overcoat, his presence commanding the room. He was tall, dark-haired, with piercing blue eyes that locked onto hers. Rachel's heart stuttered. "Christopher? Welcome to Starlight Diner," she said, her voice steady despite the storm in her chest. "What can I get you?" He froze, his gaze tracing her face. "Rachel?" His voice was a whisper, raw with disbelief. "Rachel Hughes?" The world tilted. It was him. Christopher Mansfield, older, sharper, his suit screaming wealth, but those eyes were the same ones she'd known as a girl. Her childhood friend, her almost something, was standing in her diner, a ghost made flesh. "Christopher," she breathed, the rag slipping from her hand. "What are you doing here?" "I'm in town for business," he said, a hesitant smile breaking through. "I had no idea you were still here." The word stung, a reminder of her anchored life. "Not everyone gets to chase their dreams," she said, forcing a smile. She gestured to a booth. "Sit. Coffee's on me." As he settled in, Rachel's mind raced. Why now? Why here? Her hands trembled as she poured his coffee, sliding into the booth across from him. The diner faded, and it was just them, two kids from a lost time, grappling with a present that felt surreal. They talked for hours, the rain a relentless drumbeat. Christopher spoke of Mansfield Ventures, his empire built from relentless ambition. Rachel shared fragments of her life. Her father's pain, her mother's exhaustion, her own quiet nights singing to an empty room. The connection was still there, electric, but so was the divide. He was a millionaire. She was a waitress. Yet his laugh, his gentle teasing, felt like slipping into a familiar melody. As the storm eased, Christopher leaned forward, his voice soft. "Rachel, I'm here for a few days. Can I take you to dinner tomorrow? Just to catch up properly?" Her instincts screamed caution. Her life was too heavy, her heart too scarred, but his eyes held her captive. "Okay," she said. "Tomorrow." He left, and Rachel lay awake that night, questions swirling. What does he want? Is this just nostalgia or something deeper? And the question that haunted her most: can I trust him after all these years? Chapter 2: Shadows of the Past. The next evening, Rachel met Christopher at a sleek downtown restaurant, its crystal chandeliers and white linen mocking her thrift store dress. She felt like an imposter, but Christopher's warm smile anchored her. Over candlelit plates of risotto and glasses of Merlot, they dove into memories, middle school talent shows, bike races through dusty alleys, the way they'd harmonized under stars, their voices weaving dreams. But a shadow lingered in Christopher's eyes, a tension he couldn't hide. "What's wrong?" Rachel asked, cutting through the nostalgia. He sighed, his fingers tracing the rim of his glass. "It's this deal I'm working on, with James Harrington. You remember him, the mansion guy." Rachel's stomach twisted. Harrington was Denver's untouchable predator, a man who'd crushed countless dreams with his real estate empire. His developments displaced families, raised small businesses, and turned neighborhoods into playground for the rich. "What's he doing to you?" "He's pressuring me to scrap the affordable housing part of a development project," Christopher said, his voice tight. "Says it's not profitable. If I don't play his game, he'll blacklist me, tank my reputation. I've worked too hard to lose everything, but I don't want to be the guy who betrays what he believes in." Rachel reached for his hand, an old reflex. "Then don't. You're not that guy, Chris. You never were." His fingers tightened around hers, and for a moment, the restaurant vanished. But a sharp voice sliced through. "Mansfield, didn't expect to see you slumming it." James Harrington stood there, his silver hair gleaming under the chandeliers, his smirk venomous. His tailored suit screamed power, and his pale green eyes flicked to Rachel, sizing her up like a pawn on a chessboard. "And who's this?" "Your little diner girl." Rachel's blood boiled. "Rachel Hughes," she said, her voice steel. "I work at the Starlight Diner, and I'm nobody's little anything." Harrington's laugh was a knife, sharp and cold. "Charming. Mansfield, we need to talk." "Now." Christopher stood, his jaw tight. "Not tonight, Harrington. I'm with someone who matters." Harrington's eyes narrowed, a predator sizing a prey, before he sauntered off. Rachel's pulse thundered. What kind of power does Harrington have over Christopher? The encounter left a bitter taste, a warning that their reunion was pulling her into a dangerous game. Over the next week, Rachel and Christopher fell into a rhythm, meeting after her shifts to wander Denver's neon-lit streets or sit in her cramped apartment, sharing coffee and stories. Her place was a shrine to her dreams. Sheet music pinned to walls, a worn guitar propped in the corner, lyrics scrawled on napkins. The spark between them grew, a quiet hum of possibility. But so did the questions. Could this be love? Or is it just the echo of who we were? Harrington's shadow loomed larger. Christopher revealed that the tycoon had escalated his attack, leaking lies to the press about Mansfield Ventures, allegations of fraud, mismanagement, and shady deals. The accusations were baseless, but the damage was real. Investors pulled back, and the affordable housing project, a complex of low-cost homes for families like Rachel's, teetered on collapse. One night, on Rachel's tiny balcony overlooking Denver skyline, Christopher's voice broke. "I don't know if I can beat him, Rachel. Harrington's out the city in his pocket. Politicians, media, everyone. I'm just one guy." "You're not just one guy," she said fierce. "You're the kid who taught me to dream big. And you're not alone." He looked at her, his eyes raw. "You always believed in me, didn't you?" "Always," she said, her voice soft but sure. The air crackled, and she thought he might kiss her. But his phone buzzed, a news alert flashing. Mansfield Ventures faces federal probe. Rachel's heart sank. What's he hiding? The question lodged in her chest like a stone. The next day, a new figure entered the fray. Angela Torres, a former insider in Harrington's empire, contacted Christopher. They met her in a dimly lit coffee shop, its walls lined with peeling posters. Angela was in her late 30s, sharp and guarded, with dark eyes that held 1,000 regrets. She slid a USB drive across the table, her voice low. This is everything. Harrington's been bribing officials, rigging bids, burying affordable housing projects for years. But if you use this, he'll come for you. Rachel's skin prickled. Why risk this for us? Angela's smile was bitter. I lost someone at Harrington's games. My brother, driven to bankruptcy, then worse. I'm done being his pawn. The evidence was explosive. Emails, bank records, contracts proving Harrington's corruption. But it came with a cost. The next morning, Rachel arrived at the diner to find its windows shattered, a note tied to a brick. Back off or your family's next. Fear clawed at her, but she refused to run. This is our fight now, she told Christopher, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Christopher wanted her out of it. Safe, but Rachel was done playing small. I'm not some damsel you need to protect, she snapped. We're in this together. The stakes skyrocketed when Rachel's sister, Emma, came home shaken. She'd overheard kids at school talking about Harrington's guys watching the diner. Rachel's blood ran cold. How far will Harrington go? She confronted Christopher, demanding the truth about his return to Denver. He hesitated, then confessed, I heard Harrington was targeting your neighborhood for his next big project. Luxury condos. No room for people like us. I came back to stop him and to find you. Her heart twisted. Joy, betrayal, fear colliding. You should have told me, she said, her voice breaking. I deserve to know. I know, he said, his eyes pleading. I was scared I'd lose you again. The tension snapped when Rachel found a hidden note in her locker at the diner, scrawled in unfamiliar handwriting. Meet me at the old warehouse, 10 p.m. Come alone. It mentioned her father's medical records. Someone knew about his unpaid bills, a secret she'd kept even from Christopher. Her gut screamed trap, but the threat to her family left her no choice. Against Christopher's protests, she went, slipping into the abandoned warehouse under a moonless sky. The air was thick with dust and menace. The only sound the drip of a leaking pipe. A figure emerged, Angela, her face pale. I didn't want to drag you in deeper, she whispered, handing Rachel a second USB drive. This has recordings of Harrington threatening city officials. It's enough to bury him, but he knows I'm talking. He's watching you, Rachel. Your family. Rachel's heart pounded. Why me? Why not give this to Christopher? Because he's too close to it, Angela said. Harrington's got people in his circle. Someone close to Mansfield Ventures is leaking information. You're the wild card. Before Rachel could respond, headlights flashed outside. They fled through a back exit. Rachel clutching the drive as tires screeched. Back at her apartment, she and Christopher listened to recordings. Harrington's voice, cold and commanding, promising ruin to anyone who defied him. It was damning, but using it meant exposing themselves to his wrath. The betrayal cut deeper when Rachel discovered the leak's source. Daniel, Christopher's CFO and oldest friend at Mansfield Ventures. She'd met him once, a charming man with a quick laugh, but the recordings mentioned his name in connection with Harrington's bribes. When confronted, Daniel admitted he'd been blackmailed. Harrington had dirt on his past, a gambling debt that could ruin him. I didn't want to hurt you, Daniel said, his voice breaking. I thought I could control it. Christopher's face hardened. You're done, Dan. Get out. The betrayal shook Christopher, but Rachel saw the resolve in his eyes. We're ending this, he said. Together. The climax came at a city council hearing, a public battleground packed with reporters, residents, and Harrington's cronies. Rachel and Christopher had spent days strategizing with Angela, building an airtight case. The diner's regulars, truckers, waitresses, neighbors showed up, their faces weary but defiant, a testament to the community Harrington had tried to erase. Christopher took the podium, his voice steady but fierce, presenting Angela's evidence. Emails flashed on the screen, bank records laid bare, recordings played, Harrington's own words condemning him. The crowd gasped as the tycoon's empire unraveled. Harrington leapt his feet, shouting, "Lies! Mansfield's a fraud." But the evidence was ironclad. The council voted unanimously to halt his permits, and the press swarmed his downfall broadcast live. But Harrington wasn't done. He cornered Rachel outside the hearing, his voice a low hiss. "You think you've won, Waitress? I know where your family sleeps." Fear spiked, but Rachel held his gaze. "Threaten me again, and I'll make sure the world knows what a coward you are." He stormed off, but his words lingered like poison. That night, Rachel and Christopher sat in her apartment, the weight of the fight heavy between them. "I can't lose you," he said, his voice raw. "Not again." "Then don't," she said, her voice breaking. "But no more secrets, Chris." He nodded, pulling her close. For the first time, she let herself believe in a future beyond the diner. Days later, Angela vanished, leaving a cryptic note. "I'm safe, but Harrington's not done." Panic gripped Rachel. Had they underestimated him? Christopher's team tracked Angela to a safe house in Colorado Springs, where she fled to protect her own family. She revealed one last bombshell. A hidden ledger proving Harrington had funneled millions to offshore accounts, evading taxes for decades. It was a final nail. The feds swooped in, and Harrington was arrested, his empire reduced to headlines and handcuffs. But the victory felt hollow. Rachel's family was safe, but the diner was struggling. Harrington's goons had scared off customers, and repairs were costly. Rachel's dreams of singing felt further away than ever. One night, as she strummed her guitar, Christopher sat beside her, his eyes bright with an idea. "I'm starting a music and arts foundation in Boston," he said. "Affordable programs for kids like we were, dreamers with no way out. I want you to lead the music side, Rachel. Write, perform, teach. Your voice deserves to be heard." Her breath caught. "I can't leave my family," she said, her voice trembling. "My dad's therapy, my mom's bills." "You won't," he interrupted. He quietly funded her father's physical therapy, set up a trust for Emma and Noah's education, and arranged for a nurse to help her mother. "This is your choice, Rachel. For you." She thought of her father's pain, her mother's weary smile, the diner's endless grind. Then she thought of Christopher, the boy who believed in her, the man who still did. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's do it." Chapter 7, A New Dawn. The story ends on a crisp Denver morning. Rachel and Christopher standing outside the Harrington estate, now a hollow shell up for auction. Its marble columns and manicured lawns were a relic of a fallen empire. They didn't need its grandeur. They had each other. Rachel had quit the diner. Her co-workers threw her a tearful send-off, gifting her a new guitar case with Starlight's songbird painted on it. Her guitar was packed for Boston, where Christopher's foundation was taking shape. Rachel would lead its music programs, her voice finally free to soar. But before leaving, Rachel had one last task. She organized a community concert at the diner, now repaired and bustling again. The stage was a makeshift platform in the parking lot, strung with fairy lights. Rachel took the mic, her family in the front row, her father's eyes shining with pride, her mother's smile free of worry. She sang a song she'd written, a ballad of struggle, love, and resilience, her voice carrying over the crowd, weaving through Denver's skyline. Christopher stood beside her, strumming his guitar, their harmony perfect, just like when they were kids. As they drove away, Denver fading in the rear view, Rachel felt a weight lift. Their journey, from childhood dreams to a love forged in battle, had overcome distance, betrayal, and a tycoon's wrath. Harrington was gone, his threats silenced, his power broken. The diner would thrive under new management, funded by Christopher's foundation. Rachel's family was secure, their future bright. In Boston, Rachel and Christopher built more than a foundation. They built a life. Their love, rooted in shared history and hard-won trust, grew stronger. Rachel's music became a beacon for others. Her songs played on local stations. Her classes packed with kids who reminded her of herself. Christopher's affordable housing projects flourished, a testament to his integrity. One evening, on a Boston rooftop under a starlit sky, Christopher took Rachel's hand. "We made it," he said, his voice soft. "Through all of it." She smiled, her heart full. We're just getting started. Their fingers intertwined, the city lights below mirroring the stars above. The road ahead was uncertain, but it was theirs, a melody of love, dreams, and unbreakable promises.